Story 1. The Homeowners Association. You know how every suburb has that one house? The one that's a little too perfect, almost unnaturally so? That was the Miller house, sitting at the apex of our cul-de-sac. The lawn was a sheet of green velvet, the fence a brilliant blinding white. Not a single holiday decoration was ever left out a day too late. Their secret, they'd joke at neighborhood barbecues, was the HOA, the Henderson Heights Homeowners Association. But when they said it, their smiles never quite reached their eyes. The welcome packet they gave us was an inch-thick binder of tyrannical rules. Rule 27B. Lawn ornaments are limited to a single, non-whimsical flamingo. Rule 42F detailed the only acceptable shades of beige for your mailbox. It was insane. My neighbor, Dave, a good guy who just wanted a little character, decided to test them. A small act of rebellion. He bought a little ceramic garden gnome and put it next to his prize-winning rose bushes. The next morning, Dave found the gnome moved. It was off the mulch, sitting ominously on the first step of his porch. He laughed it off, assuming it was a passive-aggressive prank. He defiantly put it back. The next day, it was on the top step, right in front of his door. Its little painted smile seeming less cheerful now, more like a warning. He received an email from the HOA, just a subject line, second notice. The body of the email was completely blank. Dave was stubborn. He went to the hardware store and bought industrial-strength epoxy, gluing the gnome to the concrete next to his bushes. That night, his security camera caught it. The timestamp read 3:13 a.m. The gnome wasn't moved. It cracked itself free from the concrete, leaving its little ceramic feet behind, and dragged its torso across the dew-covered lawn. It stopped just out of the camera's view, in the direction of the perfect Miller house. The next morning, the gnome was gone. But something new was on the Miller's lawn. Right in the center of that perfect grass was a small, still figure. It looked like a scarecrow made of old clothes, but it was gnome-sized. Dave never got a third notice. No one ever broke the rules again, because now we know what happens to the lawn ornaments, and we really, really don't want to know what the HOA uses to stuff them. Story 2. The Nightly Route. My dad is a creature of habit. For 10 years, he's jogged the same route. Every single night, the clock hits 9:30 p.m. He laces up his shoes, and he's out the door. Down our street, left on Maple, a long loop around the darkened town park, and back. A perfect, predictable 3-mile suburban circuit. One Tuesday night, he came home early, pale and out of breath in a way I'd never seen before. He said he saw something weird. On the far side of the park, under a flickering, buzzing streetlight, was a man, standing perfectly still. The strange part wasn't just that he was there. It was that the man was also wearing my dad's exact running clothes. Same neon yellow windbreaker, same gray shorts, same brand of shoes. My dad felt a primal chill and just ran faster, taking a shortcut home, his heart hammering against his ribs. The next night, he was hesitant, but routine is a hard thing to break. He went. He got to the park, his eyes scanning the shadows. And there he was again, the man in the yellow windbreaker. Only this time he was on the near side of the park, closer. He had somehow gotten halfway through my dad's route without my dad ever seeing him pass. My dad sprinted home, properly scared now. He threw the windbreaker in the back of his closet and told my mom he was changing his route for good. The next night, he drove to a different neighborhood a few miles away. A newer development with cookie-cutter houses and freshly paved roads still smelling of tar. He started his jog, relieved by the unfamiliarity. The air was crisp, the streets empty and silent. He made a right turn onto a quiet lane called Orchard Court, and under the very first streetlight, a figure was waiting for him. It was the man, standing there, wearing the same yellow windbreaker. But this time he was facing my dad, and he was smiling, a wide, predatory grin. My dad never jogged again. He sold the windbreaker at a yard sale. But sometimes, late at night, our Ring camera sends a motion alert. And when we check the footage, it's just our empty street. But if you listen really closely, you can hear the faint, rhythmic sound of running shoes on pavement, getting closer and closer to our door before stopping just out of sight. Story 3, The Empty Swing. There's a small, forgotten playground tucked behind the public library in my town, a place called Founders Park. It's old. The slide is stained with long orange rivers of rust, and the merry-go-round groans like it's in constant pain. But the weirdest part, the part all the local kids know about, is the swing set. Specifically, the swing on the far right. It's always moving. It's not a big wild swing, just a gentle, rhythmic, hypnotic back and forth. It never stops. Even on those dead, still summer days when the air is thick and heavy and not a single leaf is stirring, that one swing just goes. The local legend is that a boy named Leo used to love that swing more than anything in the world. One afternoon he was swinging on it, and then he wasn't. He just vanished. His parents searched for weeks. Now they say he's swinging forever. A new family moved to town, and their kid, a tough-looking fifth grader named Sam, who thought he knew everything, called it a stupid story. To prove how brave he was, he marched over to the playground at dusk, his friends watching nervously from the edge of the parking lot. He walked right up to the gently moving swing and grabbed the cold, rusty chains with both hands, stopping it dead. For a moment, there was an unnatural silence. The whole playground seemed to be holding its breath. Sam smirked, triumphant. Then, he let go. The swing didn't just start moving again. It shot backwards, violently, as if pulled by an invisible, furious hand. It swung so high the chains shrieked and went bar-taut, and for a split second, the empty seat was suspended right at the apex of the arc. Then it crashed back down with enough force to kick up dirt. Sam stumbled back, his face white with terror. He and his friends ran. But the legend had changed after that night. The swing still moves day and night. But now, it's not a gentle motion. It's a wild, angry, violent swing. It thrashes back and forth relentlessly, the metal frame groaning and screaming under the strain. As if it's trying to shake something off. Or maybe, as if someone is desperately, furiously trying to get back on. Story 4. The Last House on the Left. When you're a teenager in a boring suburb, a for sale sign on an empty house is an open invitation. The old Abernathy place had been empty for a year, the lawn slowly being reclaimed by weeds. It was the last house on a dead-end street, its back porch giving way to a thick, dark patch of woods. It was perfect for a dare. The dare was simple: get inside and bring something back as proof. My friend Kyle, the loudest and most confident of our group, got the short straw. We watched from the relative safety of the street as he slipped through a broken window in the back. A few minutes later, the shaky flashlight from his phone appeared in a dark upstairs window, jerking around like he was startled. Then it vanished. We waited. 10 minutes felt like an hour. 20 felt like a lifetime. We started calling his name, our voices sounding small and stupid in the quiet street. No answer. Just as we were about to panic and call the cops, Kyle stumbled out of the front door. He was clutching an old, dusty picture frame, his knuckles white. He wouldn't say a word, just walked right past us with a blank look on his face, his eyes locked on something 1,000 miles away. The next day, Kyle wasn't at school. We went to his house. His mom answered, her face etched with worry. She said Kyle was sick, that he'd been up all night, talking in his sleep. She said he kept repeating one phrase over and over in a monotone whisper. It wants it back. Terrified, we went back to the Abernathy house, the creepy picture frame in hand. We left it on the front porch, knocked on the door like a bunch of idiots, and ran for our lives. That night, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Kyle. It was a picture taken from inside his bedroom. His window was open. In the background, you could see the dark, hulking shape of the Abernathy house. And standing on his lawn, right at the edge of the light from his window, was a tall, impossibly thin silhouette with limbs that were far too long. The caption under the photo just said, "That's not what it wanted." We never found out what happened to the Abernathys, but we learned that when a house is the last one on the left, it's because nothing wants to be its neighbor. Story 5, The Saturday Test. In my town, the first Saturday of every month at noon sharp, they test the emergency broadcast siren. It's a sound we all grew up with, a single deafening wail that rises over the neighborhood and lasts for exactly 60 seconds. You just pause whatever you're doing, wait for it to end, and go on with your day. It's just a part of life. One Saturday, my sister and I were home alone, watching cartoons. Noon hit. The siren started its familiar, ear-splitting howl, echoing through the empty houses on our street. We waited, but it didn't stop. 60 seconds passed. My sister and I exchanged a confused look. Then 2 minutes. 5. The single, unending note was starting to feel less like a test and more like a warning. I muted the TV and we went to the front window. The street was empty, but not just empty. It was still. Motionless. Not a single car passed. No one was walking their dog. No birds were singing. It was like looking at a photograph of our neighborhood. Then we saw Mr. Henderson from across the street. He came out his front door and just stood on his porch. He turned his head slowly, mechanically, and looked right at our house. He wasn't blinking. Then Mrs. Gable next door. She did the same thing. One by one, our neighbors walked out of their homes and stood there, silent, all of them turning to stare directly at our house. The siren finally abruptly stopped. The sudden silence was more terrifying than the noise. And they all smiled, the exact same wide, unnatural, predatory smile. And then, in perfect, horrifying unison, they all took one single, coordinated step towards our house. We screamed and ran to the basement, locking the door, listening to the sound of our front door splintering open and the heavy, measured footsteps on the floor above us. We stayed there until our parents got home hours later, to a perfectly quiet house. Nothing was broken. Nothing was out of place. We tried to tell them, but they just said we have overactive imaginations. The siren test is always just 60 seconds, they said. It's to make sure the system works. But we know better now. It's not a test of the system. It's a test for the system, to see who's not listening, to see who's still awake, and to remind the rest of us to be quiet when the real broadcast begins. And there you have it. 5 reminders that the most terrifying things can happen on the most ordinary streets. It makes you wonder what's really going on behind your neighbor's closed doors. Let me know in the comments below which one of these stories will be stuck in your head tonight. If you enjoyed these unsettling tales and want more horror that hits a little too close to home, make sure to hit that subscribe us button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Liking and sharing this video also helps the channel a ton. Thanks for watching and try to have a safe night.